Sport event. Got a special Easter show for you today. A woman that a lot of racers will know around Canada and really the States too. Um, I'm going to have her in and we're going to talk about the season. She went to almost all of the CSRA events this year, the snowcross events, and knows what's going on around the racing scene around Ontario. So I want to welcome everybody to welcome Shelby McMahon, Mahan. Sorry, Shelby. And first, I want to. The show is sponsored by CKX Gear. CKX Gear. A lot of you know their helmets: the Titan, the Mission, the new Contact helmet. And this year, they got a brand new helmet called the Atlas. So if you're an off-road rider, motorcycle off-road rider, and I know Shelby is, you might like that. It's purpose built for off-road riding. So check those out. CKX, and here we're going to welcome Shelby Mahan. Hey, Shelby. How you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Gord. You're one of the few people that actually can pronounce my last name, so don't worry.
I winged it, really. I stood a good chance of screwing it up.
Yeah, all good. Exactly. Everyone just knows I'm known as the photographer who's always smiling out on the track, so I go by all kinds of names.
Yeah. So you and I almost trip over each other at the races. A lot of the races, whether in the U.S. or in Canada, doesn't matter where we are, we'll find each other. So this year I kind of did more oval races, and you did almost all the snowcross races in Canada. So we want to back and forth, chatter back and forth to see what's going on. You also follow a lot of the off-road races, UTVs, motocross, all that kind of stuff. So just about you're the information for everybody for motorsports around Ontario. So first, now that I've said all that, why don't you tell us what you've been up to this year?
Perfect. I mean, this year has been pretty short so far. I've just been following the snowcross series. It started in the end of January. It was a little bit of a shorter season, but it was actually really nice. Everyone was really excited then to be at the races because we weren't inundated with events. But I've spent the last COVID years here, I took some actual full-time jobs. I was working with Cassette, who has the marketing gig for Skidoo, Can-Am, and Sea-Doo. So I was teaching all of their new staff about power sports, everything from what a snowmobile is to why we ride in mud. So that was a pretty cool gig. I enjoyed that. But now that events are back rolling, I'm back behind the camera and back doing the graphic design and marketing for a few different companies, and pretty stoked to be back traveling again. That's been the cool part, traveling.
Yeah, nice. What have you got planned in the future? Events, ones that you can talk about, ones that you for sure have coming up.
Yep, there's definitely some cool stuff in the works that I can't talk about, of course, but it's always a tease for everybody. Looking forward to side-by-sides. The side-by-sides are really, really growing, and there is some movement into Canada now, so it's got us pretty excited. Working on some stuff, of course, with Joe Duncan and X Racing down stateside. He's one of my good old-time buddies here, my good client, and got some stuff working with X Games again, so all you big X Games fans, you can be prepared. We are bringing some motorsports back into it. I can tell you all that much.
Great.
So it's been pretty exciting. Aside from that, it's kind of nice. I'm a little bit slow again with COVID kind of finally just ending. I've moved some clients around. Some clients have left, and now I'm open. So I'm kind of curious to see what pops up next for me.
Nice. Let's talk about your business, Backcountry Media. What is that?
I've actually been in business now over a decade, surprisingly. Makes me feel a little bit older, but now that I'm been here for 10 years, I'm doing everything from photography, marketing, social media, graphic design. I'm actually about to do a cool webinar. I'll be advertising it on my Facebook page for free for any racers or companies that want to get involved. I'll be talking about how to get involved with sponsorships. We see it's lacking in the last few years. I think a lot of people are going for some pretty big names when they don't need to always be. There's some local stuff that they can start hitting up. So I think there's some kids that could really use some help with that. So that's really what I'm about. I do marketing. I work with events, all kinds of things in there. Try to stay specific to power sports. So I really got to do it all.
Yeah, you do a lot of the hero cards. A lot of the races do the hero cards and stuff like that.
Yep.
If the kids have got a picture of a snowcross racer or even a motocross racer, it's like they come from you.
More than
So
likely. Yeah.
great stuff. So Okay, so what happened this year? What I didn't get to any CSRA events other than Velcourt because I'm living way up north now. So talk about what's been happening with at the CSRA events, and let's start right from the beginning. The 120 class, because and the reason why people will say, well, why talk about the 120 class? Well, we are in that decade now where the 120 racers that I used to see, they're racing pro now, and that goes for in Canada and the States. A lot of the top Canadian pros right now, I know, raced 120s. So we got to talk about them. There's some good talented kids out there. The parents are spoiling them. You know, they're almost at having transport rigs now to haul these things around. But let's start with the 120s. What really, if you can, any interesting kids?
It's kind of cool just how you mentioned that about seeing how important the 120s actually are. There are a bunch of riders, exactly like you just said, that I'm now seeing in the pro class. And I mean, I cried at one of the races because one of my little 120 kids won the pro class. And it was just, it makes it a whole nother level when you've seen these kids start from the little ones. So paying attention to the little kids racing. I mean, specifically right now, we've got one little girl that I just recently sponsored, Oakland Strachan. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm horrible with names. So she's a sweet little thing, and she absolutely loves racing. So she's not like killing it on the track or anything yet, but she's social media like crazy. She's posting. Her mom's really good. She just loves what she's doing, and she loves being there. So that's been kind of the cute thing, watching some of these kids like that. Trying to think of here some of our other racers. We got so many of them. The one thing I noticed when I came back, I was gone for a couple years. I was doing some other work, and I came back, and the race classes for the kids were loaded. That novice 200 class, all the 120 stock classes, there's like 18, 20, 30 riders in some of these classes. So it's been really cool to see them come out. I mean, specifically like stock one, we have little like Joseph Bidinal, 728. His sister also races, so we'll talk about her as we get into some of the novice 200 classes. But he's on fire. He's really winning. He was doing really good this year. We've got like Adrian Ray, Cooper Kingyans. They're all kids that have come up in the last couple of years here that have some real skills that are really getting to the front. And the parents are busting their butts back in the pits working on those machines. So that goes a long way, doesn't it? I know one of my favorites right now coming up, the Love Brothers just started. So back when I started racing, like 10 years ago, I was racing with Hannah Knox and Kendall Knox.
I remember.
Exactly. So Hannah's two little boys are racing now, and they're in the 120 class, and it's just adorable to see. Then also racers who have retired on are now having kids, and they're bringing them back to the series. So that generational is really awesome to see.
We're going to talk about one kid, Creighton Dillon. Obviously,
yes, of course.
He's gone next level. His parents obviously raced in the early years at 2000, mid to 2000s. And I remember little Creighton when he was a little baby, kind of thing like that. And now he's kind of the talk of Canada and the United States
exactly,
right now. But any racers that you think are going to go to the next level? Do you think?
It's really hard to tell with the 120s. A lot of it really does come down to their parents and how much work's going into those sleds and how on top they are of their gearing at the different events and the different types of sites that they're at. You see just some of them that really love it, and you hope that they're the ones that have the time and the places to practice so that they get to excel. But really at the 120s, I really have a hard time figuring out who. I mean, it's not like we had Jack Polito back in the day, and I mean, he was just such a little superstar. And Creighton Dillon, right? They were ones that really, really popped out. So I haven't really seen anybody in the 120s that are super, super popping out. But once we jump up into like the novice 200 transition class, number 507, Jade Bidino, she's on fire. Everyone this season, she was the talk of every single place we went. She was out front getting her whole shots. You see her in the corners just ripping it. I expect great things from that little girl.
She's in the 120 now or 200?
She's up to novice 200 and transition girls now.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna get a occasional view of my noof here.
Perfect. I say I've got
He's
3
not
that
gonna
are
leave me
in and out
alone.
myself, so you might see a puppy in my lap.
It's a nice day outside, so he's not going to leave me alone until we go outside. So, can you
Yep,
lay down?
that's what I was thinking. I might as well do it outside in the nice warm weather.
Yeah, it looks like it's nice and sunny where you are too.
It
So
is, yeah.
nice. Okay, what about the 200 class? Brand new class, but it looks like it's pretty well attended with a lot of the kids, boys and girls now. Manufacturers with Articat, Yamaha, putting out nice sleds and Skidoo. Uh, what's going on in that class?
It's been pretty. So this is Jade's class, Jade Bideno's class. So basically, in any of the novice 201s, novice 202, she's in the front running for those. She's fantastic. I mean, we've got definitely a couple other riders that are trying to catch her. Coulter Cody, he's a cute little dude, number 115. Quite often in most of my photos, you'll see him and Jade at the front just battling it out for the whole shot. So he's been pretty much on fire as well. There's a lot of kids. That's the class that when I showed up in Sudbury, I wasn't really expecting this many of them because as I left 2 years ago, it's when they were just starting to come in, and there was
Yeah.
maybe a dozen of them, and now when they start off like at their final, there's 30 of them usually. So
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely crazy to see that many kids taking off with all the same little horsepower sleds. It's pretty intense seeing 30 different kids trying to vie for that checkered flag.
It's tough for them too because the sleds are so identical and so close. If they don't make it
Absolutely.
to the final, they're kind of shattered.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And
So
at the end of the season, it's a tight points battle for all of those kids.
it
It
is,
was
yeah,
really nice to
yeah.
see that big of a competition. With there's quite a few of them. I think like Sula Shepherd, she's another little girl there that's really starting to kick up some noise in that class too. And obviously the boys are out front battling. We got some
Yeah,
Dawson
yeah,
Burns. He was a really good one to watch too. Number 864, Dawson Burns. I quite enjoyed that little guy too.
yeah. It's kind of it's one of the few sports that men and women boys and girls can compete against each other. So and quite often it's usually the girl can win because they're lighter, generally, and they show no fear too. So just like
Yeah, it's funny.
myself.
Yeah, they're usually a little underestimated. I mean, like as we talking to some of the other classes, the Karkula sisters and stuff, a lot of people
Yeah,
they don't expect some of the girls to be out front and out flying like that, but we do. We have a little bit of extra being lighter. Well, we also the upper body strength. You got to work a lot on upper body strength because it is a lot more weight for us to throw around. But when you find the girls that have actually tried and have come up in the sport, they're usually really good.
yeah. Those Carcola sisters, they've been going up through the classes, 120s, and they are now they're in the amateur women now, right?
Yep,
Is that what
exactly.
it
Yeah.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, they've moved up big time. Dakota's doing really good. Brooklyn, unfortunately, is well, not unfortunately, good for her. She's gone to school. She's
Huh?
off at school, really taking that serious, so that's important. And then now her sister Dakota's taken her place in the Pro Am women's class. She won the Pro Championship this year, and their little sister Zoe is moving up in the ranks, really good in her classes too. And they're so on fire, and it's an every year thing. You never expect to hear less.
Yeah. Those girls they do a great job. Those sisters they do a great job in social media too. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
if you're involved in racing,
Well, the sisters are their mom. Their parents are really good at their social too. So,
yeah, yeah. So
and
this is
of course, Backwoods Promotions. They've got Jessica Klein working for them too. So she's the one that does their
okay.
PRs. So
Oh yeah,
she's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, you worked with her before, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, one of my very first. It's funny. I started my business, and then one of my very
Yeah.
first gigs was doing promo for her as one of the promo
Oh yeah,
girls. So it was
I
really
thought so.
nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so. Yeah. Um, okay, so uh, what's next? Sport class?
Novice, well, the junior novice
Not
in transition too. We can't forget that
yeah,
one.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So Derek Goslin, I wanted to talk about him and his sister too. But Derek is a phenomenal rider. I actually had to double check before we started this what class he was in because I get such Sport 600 vibes from him. I assume he's not racing Sport 6 just due to him being a little bit younger, but he's out there flying, hitting doubles, trying to hit the triples. Like he's really good rider and he's fast. So he's usually like half a track in front of some of the racers at some of these event sites. He's a really good racer. And then we've got Kai and Trey Duran as well in that class, and they train at the compound, so they got a really good place to test and a lot of good riders to learn from. So
Right.
they've been out front battling a lot these days. And one of my favorites that just kind of came back, Christian Williams. He'd retired for a while. Him and his brother just came back this year. So it was really neat to see some kids that have been away from the series and to come back and really return hard. His brother Eric switched up to the Sport 600 class, and it was really impressive to see him at his first race and actually hitting doubles and really riding, and to see by horseshoe, he'd also just right back in the groove of it. So it really shows it's like riding a bike. Once you can take a break, but when you can come back, it's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the compound. The big trend in racing now is all these facilities and stuff like that, motocross and really snowmobiles now too. Is there a lot of people running out of the compound now?
It seems like there's quite a few riders. They've got almost a dozen at least I know for sure that train there regularly. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I wish they had that 10 years ago when I was
Oh, for
around.
sure. Yeah.
It goes a long way. I can see it like watching. So as we chat the Pro-Am women's class, this is probably the first 2 years that I've really looked at the class and been shocked. Like Dakota and who else we got? Oh, the other Goslin. Sorry, God, I can't remember your first name. She's in that class, and Haley Bellinger and stuff. They're hitting triples that the boys are hitting, and it's mind-boggling. I mean, I was a big jumper. That was always my favorite thing. And now seeing these girls being seriously competitive, having places to train, it really shows. And they're really on fire. They're fighting with the boys. Dakota races in the Sport 600 class as well, and she's in the top 7, I believe, in the final points for the season. That's amazing to me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so beneficial to have a place where you can actually perform these triples and doubles and cornering and stuff like that, and the whoops bumps kind of thing like that. If you're just doing it on the weekend and not able to train over the and practice on these things, you're just not going to succeed as fast as everybody else. It's the trend in motocross now and snowcross. I mean, we mentioned Creighton Dillon. He trains at the LaBelle compound in Quebec along with quite a few others. It's probably no shocker that the reason why they were so good this year is because they had such great facilities to train on.
Yeah, exactly. And it builds, to me too, it builds a family. So these riders get to hang out with each other when there's a no stress situation. They're learning from each other. There's a pro rider, talking to a little 120 kid, giving them tips and things. It builds that passion for it. And I feel like all the greatest riders have the biggest passion for the sport.
They have trust in these pro riders and stuff like that. They're not really going to try to hurt them by giving them advice that they're not ready for. They know better themselves. So it's good that the pros are stepping up now and actually helping the sport too. So
exactly.
So okay, so where are we going from there? We'll go to the sport class now, or
exactly.
Is that where we're at now? I think that's the transformation.
Yep, exactly. Yep. It's been a cool class. That's usually one of my favorites, mostly because it's usually a lot of crashes and a lot of cocky kids. Well, so it makes for some good.
We're talking now. Now, if you're getting in the sport class, you're probably thinking about getting pretty serious.
Exactly.
Your sled has to be really good now. It has to be well maintained. You have to be in pretty good shape, and you got to know how to ride. So once you get in the sport class, you gotta kind of know what you're doing.
Exactly, right? And it's all that kind of age group where everyone's pretty gung-ho. It's pretty neat to see them blossom. This is also the class where you really see the kids blossom. You can tell whether or not they're going to be someone. Yeah, you see those. It's a big step up. So like this year, I mean, obviously we have Trent Weir, who won the championship. Comes from the family. If you recognize Trent Weir, you'll know his brother Jake.
yeah, for sure.
Yep. So they've been kids growing up in the sport. So you really see them. Nothing ever surprising there. I was excited to see Patrick Fenton race this year. He stepped it up huge. He's a character on and off the track. So he's really fun to just be around in the first place and really loves what he does. So another passionate rider who's doing really well. He was really nice to see.
His dad is super passionate.
Right. So he comes from racing in the first place. So we have like Eric.
And the mullet.
Yes. Yeah. The character,
That's
it's
how
funny.
I knew him. That's how I knew him this year.
Yeah. Everyone has their Oh, the new glasses that everybody's wearing, those zipper ones, and then he's got his
Yeah,
big
yeah.
flow. So, yep. Hey, if you're gonna get known for something, for social media and whatnot, it's always nice to have a little something extra that sets you apart.
Mhm.
Like Pro Sport 6, yeah, it was not nearly so. These riders are a lot more, I don't know, maybe reserved than they have been in the past. There wasn't really any big scraps. There was no real big crashes, no real serious injuries. So it was pretty quiet compared to the other years. Aside from, of course, Dakota Kakula's kicking some serious butt in that class.
Good for her. Yeah.
That was really cool to see her being really competitive with the boys, and the boys also being like competitive with her, being real with her, and not just taking her as a whatever. They actually were nervous to go up against her, and that was really nice to see because it was. I mean, there's so many riders. I think we're about 20 riders or so in the Sport 600 class again. So it's not everybody makes the final. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's the case with the in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
The sport class seems to be the biggest class now, where you're going to get all your up and comers, and I mean, really, if you go past sport, you're pretty serious.
Yeah.
With racing, you're likely going to stick to it. So
Exactly. Yeah. And there's quite a few riders I think that are going to move up from here. They're all like pretty serious when you see them in the corners, when you see them making passes, they're methodical, they're thinking about it. On their look laps, you can really see them sussing the track out and figuring out where they want to go. So I tend to keep an eye out for those kind of riders because they're the ones that have an idea that it's not just going out and ripping around on a sled, that there's some actual finesse to doing this. So you see people like Eric Buskill and Caleb Stevenson when they go out. Andrew Ruggles, another one too. I've seen him out there really looking at the track and taking it in. I think those riders are the ones that are really going to excel and move up to the pro light class.
yeah. How are the tracks this year for the sport races? Were they pretty challenging enough? I mean, with any organization, you have to tailor your courses for everybody.
Yeah.
It has to be pretty challenging for the pro classes. That it has to be still pretty good for the sport guys. But you're also gonna have the transition guys too, and girls racing the classes. Were the tracks pretty good with the snow conditions this year? Were able to get some good tracks?
They were. We were really impressed with how much the tracks were able to be built. And at a couple times, they actually looked like they were in better shape than the state side there. So that was neat to see. Definitely, there was a lot of doubles that were also triples. So the riders who were confident enough, they could make it. Like say in the transition class, Derek Goslin, he tried the triple out in Sudbury, and it's like he didn't need to. There's lots of riders who certainly didn't, but those who are confident, it gives them a chance that they can make up the laps and make up some extra mileage by hitting the jumps that they're comfortable with. Sudbury was quite nice for that. Yeah, there was some really good jumps that will separate. It was a fast track, a really long track. Lindsay was tough just because of the wet weather, so it really whooped out and it was pretty sloppy. So the weather definitely helped challenge some people. Kitchener was a mess on Saturday with pouring rain. We had fog rolling in. That was a big challenge, but there was a lot of kids that were out at the compound earlier in the week practicing in the pouring rain. So
Good
they
for
were
them.
ready for
Good
it.
for them. Yeah, good for
Exactly,
them.
right? They everyone else was on social media like, "Oh, you're going to cancel the races." And there's little 120 parents commenting, my kid just came in from the pouring rain. They want to race." Like
Yeah, which is good for Kitchener. Kitchener has some bad luck the past
Yeah.
5 years or so, where they just haven't been able to have a race there. So
Yep.
it was nice to finally go back there, because it really brings in the Southern Ontario spectators and new racers, kids and
Exactly.
amateurs. It
Kitchener's one
brings
of
it in.
it's always been one of my favorite events. It was 2018 was the last year we got to run it.
Yeah,
I went back to check it out, and unfortunately this year, most people didn't believe that it was running. So we kind of had a smaller turnout than expected on the Saturday, but again, it was pouring rain, so
it
really
poured rain. Yeah,
everyone.
that picture of you in the pouring rain there. Like, oh my God, that's gnarly,
Yep.
Shelby.
I got sick. I was definitely sick that week.
Yeah, yeah. So good,
But
awesome.
I got to do what you got to do to get the shot. That's what I always say.
Yeah, yeah. You don't always get the best shots there, but you're going to get the only shot. Nobody else is going to do
Exactly. Exactly.
it. So, but
That's perfect.
okay. Who else we got?
I guess we're up to basically. Oh, I gotta say, Clint Miller came back. So he is a guy that raced quite a few years ago. He's mostly known for his massive air out in BC and doing road gaps back here in Ontario. But it was really cool to see him come out. We had a couple older riders come back this year and take it back on, being in the Sport 600 class, the Pro Vet class as well. It's nice to see them coming back and doing really well. They've all been pretty surprised with themselves. So for anyone out there who's thinking about getting back on the saddle, it's totally doable. Absolutely.
Yeah. and there is, I mean, we kind of left it out, but the super sport class or trail sport class,
Yeah,
it's still there. It's still there for the people that want to try racing. That class
exactly.
is there for, you buy up. Shut up. You buy up an old 600 race sled, and that's what you can do. You race that.
Yep.
And
It doesn't. I say it doesn't even have to be. So my first year racing, I had a 600 MXZ Adrenaline off the trail.
Yeah.
That was my first one. I think there was another 3 or 4 trail sleds at Horseshoe that were trying it out for the first time. It's really the perfect opportunity. I guess people really think, I got to have a race sled, but that's really the first time to even see if you like it. I mean, it's an investment, for anything. So why not test the waters first and just don't beat the crap out of your sled.
If you've never raced a race sled before, they're not what you think they are.
Yeah.
They are brutally stiff. And if you're not used to that, you're not gonna have a good race. You're not gonna enjoy a ride because they are brutally stiff, and you have to be prepared for that. So bring your adrenaline or bring your MXZ or stuff like that. That's fine. You're probably gonna do better.
Especially
you're gonna be used to it and more comfortable.
Exactly. Yep. I did really good that year because I knew my sled inside and out. I'd ridden it for like 3 years on the trails out in the bush, so I was really comfortable with it. So you're right. Yeah, it goes a long way for when you know your sled. Nice. Yep. Yeah, and I guess we have the Pro Light class really coming up next. That was actually phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal to watch this year. It was hard to tell who was going to take it kind of at the beginning. There was a real battle between Taylor Stewart, Hunter Scott, and Curry Geisler and Nathan Milo. It was pretty tight in there. However, Nathan Milo had a wonderful season.
Is he from
Ontario?
Is he from Ontario?
He's Quebec actually, Saint
Yeah,
Sophie, I
thought,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah, he excelled all year. He was out front. He was getting hole shots. He had a few crashes that kind of took out some of the points. But that's a rider that puts it on the edge. He tries. He really pushes. I absolutely love watching him race. I'm always torn between taking photos and actually watching how he rides. He's super smooth. So he took it this year. He took the Pro Championship, so that was really well earned. He's been around for quite a few years. I remember way back when we were racing in Valcourt, not Valcourt, Rouyn-Noranda, even further north. I remember when he first came out with his dad, and they hardly spoke any English, and he was such an awesome little racer then. So now that he's up in the Pro Light class and really taking some wins, it was really cool to see. And Taylor Stewart fought him all season. So from London Recreational Racing, they were fantastic to watch the whole season battling out. And then Hunter Scott, I think he came from
him. He's an up and coming motocross racer right now.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He's doing phenomenal. It's funny because you see a lot of the guys that go back and forth between motocross and snowcross, and they always talk about the big difference with the weight and how everything works. But it doesn't look like he's having a problem whatsoever adjusting with the difference. He's doing phenomenal out there. I think he ended up finishing 3rd overall for the season. So definitely up there in the Pro Light class. And I expect it's going to help come summer when he's racing the motocross. He should do a lot better with the training from the heavy snowmobiles all winter.
Sure. Yeah. Good. Awesome. That's another Scott family. Of course, his dad was right into racing. He was all through the 80s, 90s, and really into the 2000s too. I think Jim was racing quite a long time, and it's another kid that came up through the 120s. So probably going to go all the way right to the pro class. So
yeah, it's cool when you know that parents used to be involved and now the kids are. It just brings an extra passion to it and a little bit more knowledge too to get through the rough weekends. I think that's the hardest thing.
And he takes his training serious too. So
Exactly. No, I was quite excited to see him. I don't really remember him the last few years or anything before. Hadn't really stood out, but this year he was definitely one of the ones on the track that popped.
I think he didn't really go much into the sport class. I don't think, or even transition class. He was in
Gotcha.
120s. I definitely remember
Yep.
him in the 120 class. So I think maybe he disappeared for a few years and raced motocross, and then all of a sudden popped up in the pro light class.
That
So
works.
yeah,
Well,
good for him. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there wasn't a huge class this year. I'm hoping we get some more riders moving up into the pro light to bring up some competition. We had Michael Island, the Michael
Well,
Island.
what's with that?
That was amazing. Oh my goodness. He showed up at Horseshoe and absolutely dominated. um,
Unbelievable. He's got to be late 30s, maybe 40s
yeah, we were
now.
trying to do the math ourselves here.
He's got to
But
be. He's got to be in there. Yeah.
yeah, he was. That's what we figured. He was pushing the 40 mark, and he did phenomenal. You wouldn't know. He was out there. He's obviously stayed in shape and to some degree, and that passion for it. He had a great big smile on
Yeah,
his
yeah,
face the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
weekend. It was.
No dad bod on him.
I mean, you got to have some. If you got muscle, you got a little bit of dad bod in there. Let's be honest here.
Because he is a dad now.
Yep. Oh yeah.
He's got
And
his kid must be getting pretty close to 120 age. I think.
I would say so by the looks of things, and that was his main reason what he said for racing was just showing his kids that anything's possible. You think you can do it, and you can, and that was really
Yeah,
nice to hear
yeah,
him talking about that to everybody out when he was up on the podium and everything. So yeah, it was
yeah.
pretty cool. He did really well. It was like a first and a third for the weekend. Like he was out
Great.
there fighting with Nathan Milo, Taylor Stewart, and Hunter Scott again, and he was dominating. He was getting hole shots the whole 10 yards. It's like he'd been racing there the whole season.
I wonder if he has been riding much.
He said he'd
I
been doing a
hadn't
lot
heard
of
of.
trail riding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go, all you trail warriors. It translates. You can just go like Mike Island. You can go from the trail to winning the pro light class.
There you go. Here's our safety caption on: we don't condone high speeds on trails.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, but yeah, so it was really cool. Yeah, seeing him come back to Horseshoe, and maybe this will stir him up to come back next year, maybe, and turn some laps with us for the season.
yeah, I doubt it, but I bet he does come out to a couple events. He is the kind of guy that
Yeah,
likes to come out once in a while. He did it with motocross too. I think he
yeah, I
got
heard
out of
that.
motocross and then he jumped back in a couple years later,
It's
kind of
hard not
thing. And
to. When you're a racer, it's really hard not to jump back in. I know every year when I'm at the track taking photos, I'm always antsy to get myself back into it, but I'm gonna just focus on side by side racing into the future. I think that's the safest and the most fun way to go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the side by sides too. I
Oh
gotta find
yes.
out what's going on with my brother in that thing because
Yep.
he seems to have jumped into that pretty good.
I'd say
Pro
so.
class. Let's talk about the big guys. Again, there's kids in in the pro class now that I remember racing
Yeah.
120s now. So I mean they've come up right up through the ladder. Some of them have dipped their feet down into the ice sox series down south. So how are they doing up in Canada?
Doing really cool. It's been nice to see a lot, like you say, a lot of these were 120 racers. We've got everyone from Isaac St. Ange, Philip Norris, Tyler Billings, Cameron
Yeah,
Watchler, Jake Weir, of course, at the top, Taylor McCoy. They're all names that most Canadian fans should know immediately,
yeah.
especially because they've been around for so long. They've been fantastic to watch. It's been really nice seeing these pro riders. Unfortunately, Blake Taylor from London Rec is now retiring from snowcross.
He's going to
Um,
university or something, isn't he? I think he's going
yeah, I
to
think
play.
so. I think he's been here for like 14 years. Like we
Yeah,
say, right from the 120s all the way up. He'd been hurt. I know last year he got hurt, and I think again this year he got a little injured. So at some point we all have to kind of make that decision when to step out. And he's had a glorious career, so it's a good time for him to
he had a
to
couple
make his
wins this year
bows.
too. Yeah, he had a
Yeah,
couple wins this year.
yeah, exactly. Like he did really good. So it was a good year to go out on. Um, Philip Norris, he was fantastic again to watch this year too. So he's another kid that's been coming up and doing quite well. Specifically Cam Watchler, that's been one I cried when he took the win in Sudbury.
Yeah.
That was my big moment. He's a little kid. His dad used to be my mechanic. So it
Really.
was really awesome just to see him come up and finally take a big win like that. There was a lot of drama around that too. A lot of people questioning, what he's got under his hood, if they're playing with things, because he rocked it. He found his nerve in Sudbury and he hit the triple, and he was constantly out front and just really really pumped, and he was really feeling the track. And so a lot of people will start to question that and pull some drama cards, but
Let them put your money up, and it's easy to take those
exactly.
sleds apart.
Yep,
If you have
exactly.
doubts, don't yap about it and
Yeah,
cause trouble. Just pay up and get and check it out. It's easy to do, and
exactly.
then there is no drama. So
Yep. I figure it's a compliment if people start thinking you gotta
exactly,
cheat
yeah,
to win. That says you're doing freaking awesome.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
So
they were good. Jake Weir, of course, took the championship again this year. He's on fire.
third
They've
year,
just
second or
yeah.
third year.
Oh, might as well have been all of them.
He's I think he's won at least two. I
Yeah,
think
I think maybe
that
this
I
was his
recall.
third or
Yeah.
fourth year. It's been quite a few years now that he's taken over. Fantastic racer, obviously. He's super
Mhm.
passionate about it, lots of skill. Taylor McCoy was battling real hard this season. We thought he was going to take it. Oh, I think McCoy won last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had the number one this year on his sled. So
yeah.
yeah, he was the champion last year.
So they
And
struggled.
I
They
think Weir was the year before.
Yes, yeah. They definitely struggled. There was a lot of mechanical issues and hard time for people to get parts. I heard a lot of complaints. I'll call them out. The Articat and Skidoo dealers haven't apparently been too friendly with us Canadians, so we've had a hard time getting a lot of parts.
Yeah.
Both McCoy and Watchler had to race last year's sleds at the final for the season.
Wow.
That's pretty disappointing to me that your top pro riders can't even get parts for their sleds, so they got to race last year's. They're lucky they have them, so that really helps too, having a practice sled and being able to at least afford to have a backup machine. But that was pretty disappointing to hear at the
Oh yeah.
finals of the year.
The sleds were good. I mean, last year's sleds were good too, but
Yeah, but they're
yeah,
beat
it's
up, right? Yeah, they've
yeah,
beaten them
they
by that
are. I mean,
point. They've
they're
taken
not
parts
fresh.
off
They're
them. Yeah, so yeah, it was
in that
quite. You could
class.
tell. You could tell out there for sure.
Yeah, in that class. I mean, every little bit counts in that class now.
Oh,
A little bit of
exactly.
handling helps. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
The
was
Aside from that, it was pretty good. It was an
yeah
entertaining season.
yeah, that's good. So you didn't make it to Velcourt.
No.
Have you gone there before at all?
You know what? It's funny. Every year, I've never been. Not once.
No.
Not
Oh, you
once.
got to make it. You got to make it to that one. It's
Every year, I
you,
try every year, and then it just doesn't. It's my one weekend off that I usually get in the winter time. So I've always just taken advantage of that and usually gone trail riding or done something wintry myself.
well, that's the good thing about Velcourt is you can basically do all of that at Velcourt. Great trail
Yeah.
ride, even though again the trails were not open again this year, and I
Mhm.
don't believe they were last year. So they've had some snow issues there in the past couple of years too, and it's kind of sucks because the Velcourt really they make it a big festival. Obviously,
Oh
the part of the Quebec snowmobile festival and stuff like that. And it's funny they in town they always make these snow sculptures and stuff like that. Everybody's got them in their front yards and stuff like that. Well, the trend now is to have these plastic covered hay bales, and that's their snowmen now. And so it kind of sucks. You go around, everybody's got these because they have to. They want to show them, so they have these
yeah.
plastic covered hay bales now. And that's their snowmen. So that's what I noticed this year again. That they didn't even have enough snow to make their ice castles and stuff like that. And but it's always great. It's always a great place to go skiing after. A lot of the racers do go skiing after, even though they've never probably skied in their lives. They somehow think it's a good idea to go and risk their health and go skiing at Bromont or whatever like that. It's it really is an event where the Americans and the Canadians they really gel together and they have you know bands at night, concerts and fire big fire at night kind of thing like that around the track. They have drag racing now, which is they've Valcourt has brought in as drag racing, snowgrass drag. So you
Awesome.
had the big pro mods there and stuff like that. These friggin' crazy expensive sleds. So they have that at night now. So if you're a snowmobile enthusiast, Valcourt is probably the best event, and Americans are gonna say no way kind of thing. But are you gonna come back in, Shelby? It looks like you dropped out there.
Oh, yeah, my video went
There.
away.
There you go. Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, there. So yeah, the Valcourt they have the oval racing, of course, the big oval races where they bring in the big series, the USA series, Pro Star series from the States and Canada, and then they have the snowcross where the top again. It's funny because only the top Skidoo teams came this year, and it really sucks because the fans really love to see everybody race. They don't care if you're not on a Skidoo. They really don't. Even though it is Bombardier's hometown, they don't care. In the old days, it didn't matter if you were on a Skidoo or Arctic Cat. If you won, you won, kind of thing, and you were the guy. It didn't. But all these teams from the States now, they won't come, even though it's a free weekend. They don't come up, and it sucks. But we had the Warner team, the Shearing team, the Thien team, Skidoo team. So excellent show. They got to see the best guys anyway, because really in Canada and the U.S. it's been dominated by Canadians and one European.
Yeah.
So with bisexual and LaBelle winning the pro light and Creighton winning the sport. So really, you can say snowcross is dominated by Europeans.
Yep,
So,
and Creighton's sister for
Canadian.
sure. She was fantastic as well.
She did. Did she win Did she win her class?
I believe she did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw her post that they'd taken, both of her and her brother had taken their championships for the year. So that's just wicked.
That's cool. And Creighton started out on the London Recreation team.
Yep.
And then Thien picked him up, and at Valcourt, what they require is if you are a pro light racer, you have to race pro. If you're a sport racer, you have to race pro light. And if that's just for the ice hockey guys coming up. So Creighton had to race pro light in Valcourt against the pro light racers.
Yep.
And he dominated. He beat them all in pro light. And then LaBelle, he was the pro light racer. He dominated his year down there. He had to race the pro class, and I believe he won on the second day. On the Sunday, he won, I think. It was interesting to see those guys step it up. Those two Canadians step it up. What else? The ovals. The year was kind of dominated by Blaine Stevenson, the Wall Brothers team, and his teammate Olson, who's they had a great year. Everybody was kind of expecting a lot to see if Gunnar Stern would do well. He didn't do as well he has in the past, but really it was the Stevenson show again this year. He won the overall championship. I went to Beaudesert too, another big Canadian event.
Yep.
They do an amazing job too. For a race that's way out in the boondocks, really. They had a huge crowd at Valcourt and at Beaudesert both days, and they put on great races. They got the motorcycles on the ice, ATVs,
Cool.
huge vintage classes.
Yep.
Huge vintage classes. So the two Canadian races are just dominating. Really, snowmobile racing scene. I think everybody sees what the Ice Hockey Series does with their streaming package. They have excellent. So we can
Oh,
see
yes.
that, but yeah, we have not been seeing a lot of
Oh.
sure. Just been doing a fantastic job. So, okay, so let's get to the to the elephant in the room here. What's going on with this UTV racing? It seems to like just taken off like crazy
It's been,
in Ontario.
it's been so awesome to watch. Like I say, I've spent a long time with Joe Duncan down in the States, shooting a lot of Terracross side-by-side races and all kinds of climates, mud and dust. But my favorite is now snow. It's been so awesome seeing these guys go toe to toe out in the snow. It's like racing in clean mud, is the best way I can put it. They're slipping and sliding, they're rolling, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You could see as the season moved on, they were getting more comfortable. I know it's a lot of new. A lot of these guys just came from trail riders. They're just guys that happen to have a 1000cc turbo or non-turbo machine, and they've showed up to race. So you could see the competition growing throughout the year. They were getting better and better. Obviously, your brother Ken dominated. You can tell.
I think he took it a bit more serious than the other guys.
I say he had a lot
he's got a
more.
factory racer. He's got a factory racer.
Yeah, he had sponsors he couldn't let down.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, he did great this year though, and just yeah, everyone was out there having a really good time. There was only a couple of the racers that were a little bit more serious about it, but I think everyone was just happy to have it starting up and to have a place that they could go ride in the wintertime. And
yeah.
Ken and the CSRA crew did a fantastic job doing the tracks. It was a little slow trying to get the machines unstuck, but it's winter. What do you expect? We've got 8-foot, 10-foot snow banks that we're trying to crawl over with the groomers or the other side-by-sides to pull them out. So compared to a lot of the other events I've seen, it really wasn't too much slower in my opinion. So it was really entertaining to watch them. All the different tracks, especially the ski hills, that was very, very crazy to, I remember showing up on Friday and we're like, where at Horseshoe are the side-by-sides going? And they're like, right up the hill. Like, oh my goodness. So they went pretty high up on the one side there and did their turns and came down with a bunch of jumps. Ken was hitting the doubles and everything with it. So there's some really awesome photos and then video, of course. We have Full Throttle Media. They were out this year with CSRA. There's a lot of like 1-minute video clips and stuff on our YouTube channel now, on the CSRA's YouTube channel. So they did some really cool stuff in there so people can go back and relive the action in person. There was a lot of drone footage this year, which was really cool. We had the drone guy out. They actually have them like right in point of view. So you're racing with the racers. Those were pretty wicked. They got one of the drones actually got taken out in Lindsay. So we spent quite a while trying to find one of their poor drones for them, but it was a lost cause.
If you've seen the ice lock races, they had a lot of drone stuff this year, and you swear those things were right on the people's shoulders. Right, but they really are further away than you think they are. But those guys they're pro racers, right? The drone guys, they're the guy that does it in the States, he's a pro drone racer, so they really know what they're doing. I didn't get to see, they had one in Velcourt, the guy there, and I didn't see actually how they were doing it, but I guess they use goggles or something. Is how they actually do it, eh?
Yeah, I was talking to the drone guy out of Toronto that came up and did a couple, and they sit in their vehicle and he's got it on. I walked by him the one day and I'm like, what's he doing? He's sitting there with it on, his controller's out, and he's ripping around the track, and they've looks like so much fun.
the footage is amazing. The footage that they had at Kitchener, I guess it's Kitchener, they had amazing footage. Like
that was beautiful.
If it was sunnier, it would have been the ultimate. But it was really, really good footage. You get right beside the racer going over the jumps and whoops and stuff, and pretty darn neat.
Yep. It's real nice to see a different angle. It's funny, you don't see a lot of the GoPro POV footage anymore, from right on your helmet. I didn't, so drones have taken over.
That's old now,
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the UTV class was pretty amazing. I think we're going to get a lot more people that come back for it. I think we ended up with 24 or 25 riders total for the UTV turbo class by the year's end. So it was that's a lot of racers to suddenly come out of nowhere to try to start doing it. So I'm excited to see who comes back. There was a lot of good competition. We even had a like the four-seater. Tom Bennett brought out a four-seater Can-Am, and that was really cool. And he ended up second. So that machine surprised the heck out of a lot of people. It dominated.
Huh. Unbelievable. I mean, Ken and I started ATV racing before anything really started. And it started in the snow at the snowmobile races when snowcross first started in the early '80s. They also started, basically because of the conditions, we weren't getting any snow at some of the snowmobile races, so they brought in ATVs. So that's when ATVs, three-wheelers, were just starting to become very popular. Like they blew up after that. They started racing the three-wheelers in the snow. Ken and I started racing those things in the snow and stuff like that, and it ended up expanding into the summer. It's hopefully this UTV racing will continue in Canada in the summer. It has gotten really big in the States, with the Ice Sox series also running the UTV series down there, and Joe Duncan's series. He was one of the first ones to start UTVs with his Terracross series. I went down to Heydays one year and he was running it down there. But hopefully it'll transform into a summer series up here, because I think there really is a market for those four-wheelers for sure. And it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too. It might be a little bit more expensive, I think, than the snowcross. Obviously, your initial investment, but it opens it up to so many more people. Just the fact that then you don't have to worry about whether there's snow or not. We can race in any kind of conditions, whether it's raining, hailing.
Yeah.
Heck, an extreme race could go through a tornado in one of those. Like it's so optional that you can do it anywhere, and it is so much fun. And a lot of people are better at it because, well, we drive cars. Anyone who drives a car or a truck, well, you've technically been training since you got your license. You just haven't been off road.
How were they for staying together at the races? Were they breaking down or at all, or
they were actually really good. The most we had, exactly. Yeah, blown belts. One guy at Horseshoe blew both his back tires. So that was kind of hilarious, but really that's been it. I mean, you're in snow, so as long as you're not smashing into the other drivers, which no one wanted, that's not what we're doing. It's not a smash up derby. Be politeful, at least as much as, rubbing is racing. You're not in there smashing corners with each other. But there really wasn't, not that I know of. I didn't see anything. We had a couple of, like I say, couple rollovers, but once they were flipped back, there was no real damage done. So impressively enough, it seems like it's less damage than summer.
Yeah. If you don't think it's very serious, the winner, aka Ken, got a truck for winning the series from True North series, who also gave a truck away to Weir again for winning the pro snowmobile class. So if you think it's not serious enough, they're giving away trucks for these races now, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. True North Fleet and Lease is a fantastic sponsor of the series. You get to see, and they've got a great setup too. So anyone looking at needing leases, they're the way to go.
Have you got one yet?
No, not yet. Funny enough, actually, I'll be calling someone Tuesday or Wednesday this week and actually having a conversation about it. So
talk to those guys. They
exactly.
There's a lot of racers that do have them.
Exactly. So it sounds like cool. Finally, I finally need a new vehicle finally.
So Tucker, what do you got planned for the summer?
Funny enough, right now, nothing other than, of course, obviously my stuff with Joe. So I usually stay back here in Canada and do his graphic design, his sponsorship packages and stuff. So he usually keeps me pretty busy with, 10, 15 hours a week. But aside from that, I'm actually shopping. So I was seeing what's out there. And so if anyone out there happens to need me, I'm here and available.
And you do the marketing and stuff like that. Geez, the past few years you've been Hoosier.
Yep.
Bombardier, BRP.
Yep.
Who else you been with? GGP.
Yeah, I was there for a little while. Everyone's got to flip burgers at some point in their life, so I
Yeah,
decided to
yeah.
take a nice, easy job for a while. It wasn't for me.
So yeah,
Back
well,
out on my own. I was at
they're
CF
all
Moto
about
for a while. That was a
yeah,
cool job actually, as one of their marketing specialists out in the field. So I traveled all over Canada, going to all their dealerships. That was a fun event. And then, like you say,
yeah,
Hoosier Off Road, when they introduced their motocross tires here in Canada, I was the director of marketing for the company at the time. That was fantastic, getting to launch a brand new product. I actually got to travel with the Triple Crown Series too. I'd only done a couple events here and there, so that was my first year. I got to go coast to coast with them, and that was so neat seeing summertime sports.
yeah, 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 for sure. So
Oh,
okay, Shelby. Well, it was great talking to you.
same, thank
It's
you.
nice to. I mean, I was able to catch up and find out what really happened, other than hearing it from Ken. So
Perfect.
I got the real story. So it's great talking to you. Great seeing you again.
Same, thank
And
you.
thanks for letting us know what happened in Canada this year. And if somebody wants to contact you, how can they do so?
Pretty simple. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 10 yards, just Backcountry Motorsports Media, or just Google Shelby Mahan. I come up.
Mahan,
Yep,
Shelby Mahan. It doesn't
Mahan.
look that way, but
Mahon.
that's the way it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
All right, great.
Perfect.
Great, Shelby. It was great seeing you again, and I'm sure somehow we'll trip over each other this summer or next winter again. Somehow we'll end
Exactly.
up someplace. Heydays is probably a for sure.
I
So
can't wait. I'm definitely not missing heydays this year. It's been a couple
yeah,
of years with COVID, so Joe's looking forward to having me back, and I'm not going to miss it.
last year was unbelievable. I've never seen
Ah,
it that busy. I
don't
know.
tell me.
Shocker. I mean, it was just unbelievable that how many people were there, and it's just again because COVID and stuff like that. It was finally
Yeah,
the first year that everybody could actually go there again, and everybody did. So it was awesome. I'm going again this year. So, but
awesome. Well,
anyway, it was great seeing you, great talking with you, and
thanks, Gord.
have a great summer. And until we see each other again,
Sounds good. Take her easy.
take care. You too.
Bye.
Take care.